Greetings to you all. There is a unique country on this planet with a name that speaks volumes, the land of happiness. Its citizens take pride in the fact that their nation boasts a negative carbon dioxide emission, a place where the concept of wealth and poverty seems to have been erased. No more chasing after materialistic pursuits. Having enough to eat is considered sufficient. That remarkable land is none other than Bhutan, a country that values gross national happiness more than the gross domestic product. Bhutan, nestled in the majestic Himalayan mountain range, is a small, landlocked nation with an area of only 14,800 square miles, equivalent to 38,394 square kilometers. To the north, it shares borders with China's Tibet Autonomous Region, while to the south, it is bordered by the Indian states of Sikkim, West Bengal, and Assam. Despite being sandwiched between two densely populated giants, Bhutan's population is modest, numbering just under 1 million. The terrain of Bhutan is notably unique, dominated entirely by mountains. Moreover, these mountains reach impressive heights, with peaks exceeding 16,400 feet, equivalent to 5,000 meters. The highest mountain in the country, Gangkhar Puensum, stands at a towering 24,800 feet, equivalent to 7,570 meters. Significantly, this peak remains unconquered by humans, as it is considered sacred by the Bhutanese people, a mountain reserved for the divine where no one is allowed to disturb its sanctity. The lofty mountains are accompanied by deep valleys, and hundreds of rivers flow vigorously from north to south, creating breathtaking and magnificent landscapes as they journey towards India. Bhutan boasts a lush forest cover of over 72%, with its constitution mandating that forest coverage should not fall below 60%. Most of the country's territory is designated as natural reserves for wildlife conservation. Bhutan experiences a relatively cool continental climate, with temperature variations ranging from tropical in the south to alpine in the high plateaus, and even polar climates with year-round snow in the north. In this enchanting land, the pursuit of gross national happiness takes precedence over traditional measures of prosperity. In terms of history, the history of this small country is quite obscure and shrouded in mystery, largely due to the fact that most historical documents were burned in the fire that engulfed the ancient capital Punakha in 1827. Nevertheless, scant records that survived suggest that in the 7th century in Tibet, a local leader named Songtsen Gampo unified the Tibetan tribes and established a prosperous empire. In 624, Songtsen Gampo extended his empire's borders by conquering Bhutan. From this point onward, Bhutan's history became intertwined with that of Tibet, experiencing significant influence from the latter. Songtsen Gampo was a devout follower of Buddhism, and as a result, Tibetan Buddhism strongly permeated Bhutan. He commissioned the construction of 2 ancient temples, Kurji Monastery in central Bhutan's Bumthang region, and Kichu Lakhang in the Paro Valley. These temples are still remarkably well preserved and are now renowned tourist attractions in Bhutan. In terms of the economy, in 2022, Bhutan's economic scale was around $2.6 billion, with an average GDP per capita of about $3,300 per year. If we focus solely on the economic scale, the figure of $2.6 billion may seem relatively modest. However, since 1971, Bhutan has discarded the GDP index, gross domestic product, replacing it with GNH, gross national happiness. For over 40 years, Bhutan has prioritized the happiness, health, and spiritual well-being of its people over economic considerations. This bold approach has captured the world's attention. Bhutan aspires to be a role model nation where all citizens are content with their lives, valuing non-materialistic pursuits and seeking inner peace. They view economic growth as a tool, not a mandatory goal. Despite a relatively high percentage of the population living in poverty, Bhutan stands out as one of the few countries providing free healthcare and education with remarkably high levels of citizen satisfaction. However, it's essential to understand how Bhutan generates income. After all, one cannot survive by simply breathing in the mountain air. Money is needed, and Bhutan earns it through various means. It's not as if they can sustain themselves solely by inhaling the air, given the importation of fuel, oil, and medicine. The response is that Bhutan has 3 main sources of income. Firstly, agriculture. The state of agriculture in Bhutan can be described as quite primitive, resembling the medieval era. There are no vast fields or giant agricultural machinery. The mechanization of agriculture is limited. Bhutan is a purely traditional and classical agricultural country. Industrial development is minimal, and the population primarily relies on self-sufficiency through their small gardens. However, it is noteworthy that Bhutan is the only country in the world that does not use fertilizers or pesticides. These substances are prohibited by the government to ensure that even though productivity may not be high, the fruits and vegetables grown are free from harmful chemicals. The majority of the population follows Buddhist practices, making vegetarianism prevalent. Bhutan's renowned agricultural products include red rice, apples, Himalayan chilies, carp, and salmon. The second source of revenue is hydroelectric power. Given the high mountainous terrain and deep valleys, Bhutan boasts numerous swift-flowing rivers, providing favorable conditions for the development of hydroelectric power. Currently, the country operates 2 hydroelectric power plants that export electricity to India, constituting approximately 32% of its total export revenue. This makes Bhutan's export of renewable energy the highest percentage in the world. The third and largest source of income for Bhutan is tourism. Before 1971, foreigners were restricted from entering Bhutan, and Bhutanese citizens were not allowed to travel abroad, making Bhutan one of the most mysterious countries in the world, known to very few. After reforms, Bhutan identified tourism as a key driver towards happiness. However, the country's approach to tourism is unique, prioritizing environmental and cultural preservation over profit. Bhutan positions itself highly in the tourism sector, focusing on quality rather than quantity of visitors. Since opening its doors to international tourists, the country introduced a sustainable development fee. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, visitors were required to travel in guided tours, committing to a daily spending of at least $200 during the low season and $250 during the high season. This fee covered all expenses, including accommodation, transportation, and tour guide fees. Traveling independently was not allowed, and a predetermined itinerary with a guide was mandatory. Before the pandemic, the sustainable development fee was $65 per day. However, post-COVID-19, Bhutan revised its policy, increasing the fee to $200 per day, a threefold increase, bringing the total daily cost to approximately $400. Although the requirement for guided tours was lifted, travel became more flexible but more expensive. Bhutan's representative stated that the increased fee of $200 would be invested by the government in environmental protection, afforestation, and vocational training for the tourism workforce. In summary, Bhutan has a distinctive approach to tourism, prioritizing quality over quantity. Despite the high fees, the number of tourists visiting Bhutan has steadily increased over the years. In 1974, only 300 tourists visited Bhutan, but by 2019, the number had risen to 360,000, generating a revenue of $350 million. So where should we go first in Bhutan? Of course, the Paro Taktsang Monastery, also known as Tiger's Nest, a highly renowned monastery. Undoubtedly, when searching for information about Bhutan, this image will likely be the first to appear. It is famous for its beauty, solemnity, and mystique, perched dramatically on a cliff, arousing curiosity in anyone who wishes to visit. Constructed in 1692 on a rock face at an altitude of 2,950 feet, equivalent to 900 meters, the monastery is intertwined with the legend of Guru Rinpoche or Padmakara, who is said to have meditated here for 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, and 3 hours. In the 8th century, Guru Rinpoche, a great master, brought Buddhism from Tibet to Bhutan. He is considered the protective deity of the people in this region. While traveling from Tibet to Bhutan, Guru Rinpoche is credited with subduing and taming malevolent spirits that troubled the local population at that time. The second, Rinpung Dzong, stands as one of the most beautiful and iconic architectural marvels in Bhutan. Constructed with intricate combinations of wood and stone, the Dzong features large interlocking beams without the use of nails. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, this site played a crucial role in safeguarding the Paro Valley from invasions by Tibetan forces advancing from the north. Number 3 is Punakha Dzong, the largest dzong in Bhutan. Built in 1637, it served as the royal palace for centuries and was the administrative center of Bhutan until the king's decision to move to Thimphu in 1955. With a history of nearly 400 years, Punakha stands as a sacred historical fortress, bearing witness to the country's history and culture, playing a crucial role in the lives of the Bhutanese people. Within its premises stands a sculpture depicting 4 renowned figures deeply ingrained in Bhutanese culture. The elephant, monkey, rabbit, and bird share an intimate connection. The elephant cannot reach the fruits without the assistance of the monkey. The monkey, in turn, cannot enjoy the fruits unless the bird brings seeds from elsewhere. Additionally, the plants cannot thrive without the protection provided by the rabbit. According to Bhutanese legend, these 4 animals symbolize earth, air, wind, and sky. This serves as a profound example of the harmonious balance in nature, reflecting the beliefs and lifestyle of the Bhutanese people for centuries. Next is Dochala Pass. Nestled high in the Himalayan mountain range, Dochala Pass is a breathtaking mountain pass in the Kingdom of Bhutan. Situated at an elevation of 10,200 feet, equivalent to 3,100 meters above sea level, this picturesque pass is a popular destination for both locals and tourists alike. Dochala Pass offers a panoramic view that is inspiring, showcasing the surrounding valleys and snow-capped mountain peaks, making it an unmissable spot for nature enthusiasts and adventure seekers. With a rich history dating back to ancient times, the pass was once a prominent trade route connecting Bhutan and Tibet. Over the centuries, Dochala Pass has witnessed various events, ranging from historical battles to religious processions, shaping its significance in the history and culture of Bhutan. Beyond its natural beauty, the pass holds deep cultural meaning for the people of Bhutan. Adorned with 108 chortens, or memorial stupas, it was built to honor the brave Bhutanese soldiers who sacrificed their lives during a military conflict with insurgents in the Assam state of India in December 2003. These memorial stupas serve as symbols of peace and testament to the resilient spirit of the Bhutanese people. And finally, the capital Thimphu is situated at an elevation of over 7,600 feet, equivalent to 2,300 meters above sea level. Thimphu ranks as the 5th highest capital in the world, and newcomers might experience a slight difficulty in breathing when suddenly ascending to this height. In terms of skyscrapers or overall development, Thimphu cannot be compared to other capital cities. However, in Bhutan, it is the largest city covering an area of about 10 square miles, equivalent to 26.1 square kilometers, with a population of around 100,000 people. The streets of the capital are exceptionally clean, and you won't find discarded plastic bags scattered around, because the country strictly prohibits the use of plastic and encourages the use of cloth bags and baskets for shopping. Bhutan, being a Buddhist nation, regards the sanctity of life highly, and thus the consumption of meat is discouraged. Most meat is imported from India. The people are peaceful, friendly, and hold strong beliefs in Buddhism. In Bhutan, the production and sale of tobacco are strictly forbidden, making it the first country in the world to implement a total ban on tobacco. However, this ban is applicable to the citizens only, and international visitors are allowed to bring in tobacco products. Yet a substantial fee is imposed, and tobacco is sold in the capital with a hefty tax of up to 400%, subject to strict regulation. The people of Bhutan, with their wholesome lifestyle and unwavering belief in Buddhism, have made their country the happiest in the world. However, is religious faith alone sufficient for happiness? It seems that they value simplicity over wealth. Having enough to eat, adequate clothing, and a place to call home suffices. Yet one might wonder, do Bhutanese couples escape the common pitfalls of infidelity, quarrels, and divorce? The surprising answer lies in Bhutan's unique legal provisions. In Bhutan, men are allowed to have as many wives as they wish, and likewise, women can have multiple husbands. This unconventional arrangement eliminates the tension of desiring a neighbor's care for a lifetime while fearing the objections of a current spouse. To understand this practice, historians point to Bhutan's geographical features, a mountainous terrain with numerous dzongs and isolated villages, making travel arduous. In the past, men would venture to other villages for trade, a journey that could last 6 months to a year or even longer. A Bhutanese woman with only one husband would have to wait months for his return after each trip. Hence, having a second or third husband, often the brothers of the first husband, brings stability to the family. Furthermore, the sparse population concentrated in small communities necessitates shared responsibility to ensure lineage continuity. Having only one spouse would risk the inability to sustain the family line. While this custom made sense in the past, particularly in maintaining population numbers, the younger generation in Bhutan, with the advancements of society, increasingly rejects polygamy or polyandry, particularly among the youth who are moving away from these traditions. The Bhutanese have a saying, Good liquor lies at the bottom of the jug, and happiness resides beneath the navel. This phrase accurately captures their perspective on happiness, emphasizing the depth of their contentment. In reality, the rich cultural heritage and revered traditions of the Bhutanese people are widespread. They adorn walls with images of firearms and worship these weapons, creating a uniquely distinctive practice. Visitors to Bhutan can even purchase souvenirs featuring images of these special guns. In Bhutan, football does not thrive, as evidenced by their national football team ranking 185th globally. Instead, archery takes the spotlight as the national sport, with locals frequently engaged in archery training wherever you go. Education in Bhutan follows a monastic system, with everyone spending some time as a monk. The decision to continue as a monk or pursue other paths comes later. An intriguing aspect of the country is that the majority of its citizens can converse in English, facilitating effective communication with tourists. In the political realm, after the Communist Party came to power in China, Bhutan entered into a friendly agreement with India, essentially aligning itself with the latter. Bhutan became genuinely concerned about its existence following the People's Republic of China's advance and annexation of Tibet. What if China inadvertently incorporated Bhutan as well? Consequently, Bhutan had to strategically rely on India, maintaining strong economic, strategic, and military ties. Bhutan exempts Indian citizens from visa requirements, and in return, Indians don't need to pay the $200 daily fee imposed by Bhutan. Currently, Bhutan has no formal diplomatic relations with China due to China's occupation of Bhutanese territory. In 2005, Chinese troops entered and seized 100 square mile, 260 square kilometers, of disputed land between China and Bhutan. China initiated construction projects in the area, prompting strong opposition from Bhutan. In response, China asserted that the border dispute persisted, and both sides were working towards a peaceful and amicable resolution. China argued that the presence of its troops in the region was an effort to ensure peace. Regarding military, the Royal Bhutan Army stands as one of the world's smallest armed forces, including only the Royal Guards and the Royal Bhutan Police, totaling around 16,000 personnel. Trained by Indian forces, the annual budget allocated for the military is approximately $13.7 million. Being a landlocked nation, Bhutan lacks a navy and air force. In the absence of these capabilities, Bhutan relies on the Eastern Air Command of India for air support if the need arises. In summary, Bhutan is a small but remarkably well-developed country. They have successfully preserved their cultural identity while ensuring the happiness and well-being of their people, with free healthcare and education. At first glance, it may seem like they don't need tourists, but in reality, their effective management and approach attract even more visitors, contributing to the prosperity of the nation. Thank you for watching the video. If you found it interesting and valuable, please like and share. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.